Sri Sachidananda Sadguru Sainath Maharaj Ki Jai. Sri Sai Satcharitra, an Insight. Episode-96. My humble prostrations at the lotus feet of our Sadguru Sai. By the divine grace of Sai, an attempt has been made to translate the gist of the divine discourse of Sri Ramanathan brother telecasted in Sai TV. This is purely done to share the glory of Sai and his divine teachings with more insight to the aspirants. Om Gurur Brahma Gurur Vishnuhu Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha Gurur Sakshat Parabrahmam Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Devotees, let us listen to the 18th or the last sloka of Isha Vashya Upanishad, which is considered as the core sloka for Agnihotra. Agni Naya Supata Raye Asman Vishwani Deva Vayunani Vidvan Yuyud Asmai Juhuranam Eno Bhuhishtam Te Nama Uktim Videhama. Which means, O Agni, lead us by the good path to the enjoyment of the fruits of our deeds, knowing, O God, all our deeds. Remove the sin of deceit from within us. We offer Thee many prostrations by word of mouth. Sainath Maharaj is an incarnation of the Supreme God. There is no need for him to maintain Agnihotra. Rituals are necessary for humans as they have fallen from their Brahmanhood, as they will help him to retrieve the lost status in one or the other way. But for the Almighty, all-pervading Baba, the ruler of all the three worlds, blemishless and formless, and takes form at his will, doesn't need to perform any rituals. It is for the sake of his devotees Baba maintained the sacred fire. Every person must perform action as prescribed in the scriptures as long as he lives in this earth. One such action is Agnihotra, which is a way for inner purification and renunciation. This must be performed until one's mind gets pure. If the mind is not involved in spiritual practices, then it will end up in accumulating temporal knowledge, which will result in suffering owing to the cycle of birth and death. Baba maintained Agnihotra, and this dhuni was ever lit, and assured that if one would sit glimpsing at his dhuni, then their sins will be annihilated, all their problems would get resolved, and can lead an obstacle-free happy life. Devotees, when you go to Shirdi, please make sure that you be in Dwarakamai around 3:30 a.m. to witness the small puja that is made for Dunima. Firewood, cow dung patties and ghee would be offered. Then wood logs will be stirred so that the blaze would burn to its fullest extent. It is indeed a great blessing to witness this sacred fire, as that would annihilate our sins and cleanse our mind. Usually there would not be much crowd at that hour in Dwarakamai, hence there will not be any hindrance for the devotees to watch the Duni Puja. Hence, I urge all of you to make use of this opportunity to see this divine fire at the morning hours and reap the blessings of Dunima. Sitting in Dwarakamai, we can watch both the Duni Puja and the Kakadarati that would be performed at 4:30 a.m. in Samadhi Mandir through the TV that would be wall-mounted in Dwarakamai. Hence, devotees need not worry about missing the Kakadarati of Baba as well. Baba maintained this holy dhuni throughout his stay in Dwarakamai. He has left this as a boon for the humanity and asserted that glancing at the Duni will eradicate one's sins. This was the objective of Baba's Duni, and this provides the greatest panacea for all ailments. Hence, during our next Shirdi pilgrimage, let us all remember to be at Dwarakamai to witness this holy Duni Puja. So, devotees, with this note, we are closing chapter 20 of Sri Sai SATCHARITRA and stepping into chapter 21, which is titled as Bestowing Grace. This is comparatively a very small chapter with just 130 OVs. The Leelas that are expounded in this chapter are astounding. In the fifth OV, Hemat Panji narrates that one can never get the fortune to meet a saint unless God bestows the grace upon the person. This whole chapter binds upon this thought. While Baba was in flesh and blood, many desired to have Baba's darshan, but not all of them were blessed to see the Supreme Being. To the contrary, there were few who have never heard of Baba, but they were drawn by Baba and they became ardent devotees and remained in his fold until their last breath. This is the evidence to the fact that none can think, speak, or have Baba's darshan until the Supreme Lord wills and bestows such a grace upon a person. Now let us keenly listen to the narration of Hemat Panji. Devotees might recall in the opening chapters of Sri Sai SATCHARITRA that the author was not convinced to have darshan of a guru or surrender to the guru, as he felt, why should we lose our freedom and submit to others? When we must do our duty, why a guru is necessary? One must try his best and save himself, and so on. A person with such conflicting thoughts was drawn to Shirdi, inspired by Baba, and was made an instrument to author the most sacred scripture that depicts the life story of Sainath Maharaj, Sri Sai SATCHARITRA. Isn't this incredible? Hemat Panji was residing in Bandra, a place in Mumbai. There was a mosque in Bandra and there lived a great saint by name Pir Maulana. People from all other beliefs and scholars flocked from various parts of the country and abroad to have his darshan. When Hemat Panji was a magistrate of Bandra, his mujawar, that is peon, was Yunus. Yunus was very sincere and diligent in the performance of his duties to Hemat Panji. Yunus was devoted to Pir Maulana, hence would spend rest of his time in serving the Guru. He realized the greatness of his Guru, thus wanted his boss Hemat Panji also to reap the blessings of the great saint. So, Yunus patiently persuaded Hemat Panji to come for Pir Maulana's darshan. Whereas Hemat Panji had his own reservations. He thought, why I should go for some saint's darshan just because many thousands flock to him. In the later years, Hemat Panji admits that he might have had a trace of ego that he should not go for Pir Maulana's darshan as the peon is persuading him to come. So, Hemat Panji simply postponed the visit and eventually he never got a chance to have the darshan of the saint, which he calls as a misfortune. He uses a beautiful idiom to describe his self-esteem issues and says, maybe I was afraid of my own shadow. These outpours of Hemat Panji are the results of his association with Baba. He also confesses that on account of some good deeds from the past, complemented with Guru's grace and compassion, had brought him to Shirdi and remained as a devotee of Baba forever. After he came under the umbrella of Sainath Maharaj, realization dawned upon him about the importance of a guru in a person's life and understood that it is possible to get the grace of guru only when the God bestows such a blessings upon the person. Unfortunate souls never get such a meeting, nor can even get closer to the vicinity of the saints, says Hemat Panji, and has emphasized upon this conviction in chapter 21 of Sri Sai SATCHARITRA. The peon of Hemat Panji, Yunus, is addressed by people as Yunus Mujawar. The one who does worship to God is also known as Mujawar. And as Yunus was serving Pir Maulana, he was called as Mujawar. Later, that became his title. In chapter 41 of Sri Sai Satcharitra, devotees would come across a fascinating leela of how Sai's divine portrait reached Hemat Panji on a holy day, as narrated by Ali Muhammad. Let us heed to it now in the words of Ali Muhammad to understand Baba's supreme powers. I, Ali Muhammad, bought a picture of Baba, hung it in the walls of my home, and was happy to have his darshan every day. I fell ill and had a surgery in my leg, owing to which I stayed in my brother-in-law's place, and a small picture of Saint Baba Abdul Rahman was with Muhammad Hussain, who was known as Tariya, and as my brother-in-law was a devotee of him, I gave him a copy of it. He enlarged the picture to match the life-size Baba Abdul and took it with great love to gift it to him, also made many copies and distributed to his friends and relatives. He also gave me a copy and I hung it on the wall of my house. Nur Muhammad desired to present it to Abdul Rahman. Then that saint had many people assembled around him with reverence. But Abdul Rahman became extremely angry and got up to beat him. This made Nur Muhammad very sad, and he not only lost a lot of money but also Guru's grace. Hence, he decided to immerse all the pictures of the saints in the sea, as that annoyed his Guru and made him lose his love. He hired a boat and went as far as he could in the sea and finally immersed it. This he did not do only to the saints' pictures he had, but he also collected back the pictures from all the relatives and friends, and also insisted me to do the same, as having these pictures will only bring difficulties. So I instructed my manager to go and collect all the pictures of the saints that were hung on the wall and hand it over to my brother-in-law. 2 months after this, I felt little better, went back to my home, and was greatly surprised to see on the wall the picture of Sai Baba was hanging in its place. I was astounded and was wondering how had the manager left this picture, and I quickly hid it behind the cupboard, fearing if my brother-in-law would see it, then he will immediately get it immersed in the sea. I was puzzled as to whom this photo of Baba should be handed over, so I consulted the Mujawar Isamusu of Pir Maulana's Darbar. And also, as Baba willed, it was decided by us to hand over this to you, that is to Hemat Panji. Hence, we brought this portrait of Baba to give it to you. Thus, Baba's divine portrait reached Hemat Panji on a holy day. Devotees, this Mujawar Isamusu of Pir Maulana is none other than the same Yunus Mujawar who served as a peon to Hemat Panji while he was a magistrate in Bandra. Though here it is mentioned as Mujawar Isamusu, it indicates Yunus Mujawar. Devotees might recollect that we listened to the experiences of Tarkat family in our earlier episodes and came across a Leela in which Sita Devi Tarkat was suffering from severe headache and all sorts of medicines were tried, but none of them gave her any relief. The maid servant at Tarkat's house suggested Sita Devi to have darshan of Pir Maulana near Bandra Masjid, and he would give some Ayurvedic medicines and cure all the incurable diseases. Whereas the Tarkat's family were strong Prarthana Samajists, and Sita Devi knew that the family members would not permit her to meet any saints. But her son Jyotindra arranged to get a burqa for his mother Sita Devi Tarkat and took her to Pir Maulana for relief of headache. And the saint told her that, "Mother, I do not have any medicine to offer, but I have a brother named Sai Baba who stays at Shiradi, and you can go to him. He will cure you and relieve you from all your sufferings." As asserted by Pir Maulana, Sita Devi came for Baba's darshan, and that Baba relieved Sita Devi's migraine in her very first visit. So, this is another evidence to the fact that Saint Pir Maulana and Sri Sainath Maharaj were closely associated. As stated above, Sita Devi Tarkat was residing in Bandra, and it is a blessed place as many ardent devotees of Baba such as Hemat Panji, Tarkat family, Mankar's family and few others were also residents of Bandra. Ramanathan brother shares his experiences of visiting Hemat Panji's house at Bandra with Sai devotees. He says, Hemat Panji's family is residing in the first floor of the complex, and even while climbing the stairs of the house, he could feel the presence of Baba and says the ambience is so divine. This is one of the houses to be visited by all Sai devotees. Therefore, in this chapter, Hemat Panji is trying to portray the acquaintances of Baba with other saints. Pir Maulana was a great saint, a celibate, and worthy of a great honor. Therefore, when Hemat Panji realized that the cosmic will of the saint and Sainath Maharaj were identical, he was disheartened for not having the darshan of the saint. Though the saints lived in far-off lands depicting different beliefs, they all patterned their lives to do all that they could for the glory of God and to establish peace and harmony. These spiritual masters work in unison for the betterment of humankind. There are innumerable Leelas in Sri Sai SATCHARITRA that vouchsafe this statement. Some of these Leelas have been discussed in the earlier episodes, and few we might listen in the later episodes. Still, at this juncture, I would like to quickly mention few of them as it is appropriate to the subject. Leela of Ratanji Wadia of Nanded showed the connection between Sainath Maharaj and Saint Mauli Sahib. By the influence of Dashkanu Maharaj, Ratanji came for Baba's darshan, beseeching for a male progeny and offered dakshana. Baba said he had already received rupees 314 from him and that he should pay the balance only. Ratanji was puzzled as that was his first visit to Shiradi. Later, when he discussed this with Dashkanu Maharaj, he pondered upon the subject and clarified that the amount exactly matched the expenses that Ratanji made few months ago at his home for a small reception in honor of a Mohammedan saint Mauli Sahib. So, this is another evidence that Baba and Mauli Sahib are one. Otherwise, how can Baba identify himself with the saint? Similarly, Baba appeared like Raghunath Maharaja of Dopeshwar, known as Kaka Puranik, to Dr. Pandit when he came for darshan. Hence, he marked the Tripundra on Baba's forehead as he did on his Guru's head. All these miracles are narrated by Hemat Panji in the various chapters of Sri Sai SATCHARITRA. And it is marvelous to note the way the saints operate in this world. At times, a saint takes care of a section of the spiritual progress of an aspirant and guides him to another saint for the rest. Otherwise, a saint directs an aspirant to another saint for his spiritual welfare. All the saints are omnipotent and omniscient, and there was wireless communication between them, which was linked by the cosmic spirit. Sri Sainath Maharaj experienced an inner atonement with all other saints. So, they all knew what the other was doing, though they stayed at distant places. Ultimately, Baba would also demonstrate to the aspirant that everything was his divine sport but performed through other saints. And Hemat Panji has quoted these connections in Sri Sai Satcharitra as ordained by Baba. Then to Mule Shastri, Baba donned a saffron robe and appeared as his Guru Golap Swami. Likewise, when Bhagavantrao Shirsagar came to Shiradi for darshan to convince him that all gods are one, Baba appeared to him in the form of Sri Vittal of Pandharpur, as Sri Vittal was the family god of Sri Bhagavantrao. Once, Haribau Karnik came for Baba's darshan and forgot to offer dakshana to Baba, but took Baba's permission to leave. And when he was about to step out of the masjid, he remembered to offer one more rupee as dakshana. But Shama informed him by signs that once the permission was granted, then the person is not supposed to come back. On his way back home, he went to Kalaram temple at Nasik for darshan. There, the Saint Narasingh Maharaj, who was seated with several devotees, ran towards Haribabu and caught his wrist and asked him for 1 rupee dakshana. Is this not another testimony to the truth that Sai Baba is in all saints? There are many such enthralling leelas which depict the connections of Baba with other saints. We shall continue to listen to them in the coming episodes. Bow to Sri Sai. Peace be to all. Om Sai Ram.